Right, guys. Yeah, I just want to talk about Keir Starmer and the new uh, the new Labour party, which is now in office in the UK, and the early signs of what they're focusing on and that, which is as expected, is the net zero, and they seem to have a fixation with landlords, whether it's private landlords, long lets or Airbnbs and stuff like that, and short lets. Now, why would they focus on that? Is there a big problem in the UK with landlords and renters? Because I haven't heard of anything, and a lot of it isn't sort of to counter any problems that they've identified. It's more bringing in legislation like the improvements that landlords have got to do by 2028, the BEEB, which it's going to cost them money, and then it's going to cost the renters money, and seem to be awfully concerned about renters in the UK, except for the high rents what they're paying because of the energy costs and all the other costs involved in being a landlord. Um, so what the other things that they brought in is that the the uh, the eviction, you can't evict people for non-payment of rent for a certain time anyway. I don't know what the exact time is, but eventually it's going to be. It might be okay for renters who don't want to pay in the short term, um, but it doesn't benefit anybody. Why would that benefit anyone? That you can't evict people for not paying rent. In the long run, you're just going to get poorer quality housing and less landlords probably, and they need the housing apparently, and you can't evict people for 2 years if you need to sell your place or anything. Now, what's that got to do with the government? Anyway, all you could have is a 6 month contract, or you can have a 2 year contract. If you don't want to be evicted for 2 years, sign a 2 year contract with your landlord. It's easy enough, isn't it? That problem solved. And if you want to save anybody money, you could first thing I would do is take away standing charges of electric and gas. Why don't they do that? If they want to solve this so-called cost of living crisis, they said they were going to try and get them down. Why not just not have them? Standing charge is just criminal activity. It's charging people for nothing. Um, Now, I think they even add it onto the bills when people are actually using the electric and gas. I would have thought a standing charge could only ever even be a thing if you weren't using it for any length of time. Like, say, the property was empty for a year, you could have a standing charge or something. But even then, what's a standing charge for? Because the electricity's there in the street and connected to the house for anyone who wants to use it. Anyway, that's my thoughts on standing charges. But why don't they do that? And so yeah, it's all about costing landlords money, and what it is this is a World Economic Forum thing, because they don't want people being landlords and owning property, and they don't even want people owning property to live in themselves. And they're going to have to do improvements. Now, where I live here, if you want to do improvements, you do it, or if your house is less efficient, you pay more. You pay more electric or firewood or whatever. I mean, if you can't afford to do your house up, why should you be penalised? If you're in your country, you can't afford a proper house and to do it up properly. Why should you be penalised for that? Now, people here do improve the houses all the time. They don't have to get told that improving a house is a good idea when you can afford it and make it more energy efficient. You don't have to be told or ordered by the government or they take your house off you. What does that solve? Just makes people homeless, surely. And so these are the types of things that these people do. Keir Starmer, the man from Milk Tray, who hasn't got a worry in the world about money, in his black suits and black training shoes, and he is a World Economic Forum man. He attends Davos, and he said Davos is better than Westminster. So why is he bothering with Westminster then? Unless he's being installed by the World Economic Forum, which they openly say that's what they do. They've said it about Canada, Angela Merkel, Keir Starmer's the latest one, Mark Rutte, Justin Trudeau, and his oppos. There's a few of them in the Canadian Parliament. So that's who's coming in. That's who you're voting for, or you think you're voting for. Well, it was by default, really, wasn't it? So who's orchestrated all that? Probably Sunak, and as part of it, And so what else are they going to do? They said they're going to smash the gangs who are doing the immigration, the trafficking across the channel. The only trafficking that's done there is by the RNLI and the Coast Guard, British Coast Guard. The rest of it is done in France. So how are they going to smash the gangs in France? Said they're going to employ thousands of investigators. And who's going to pay for them? You. British people again. And you're going to pay for all the net zero stuff as well. They didn't mention potholes or anything like that. They're going to fix the potholes. And if you want to smash the gangs who are sending people across the channel, don't go and pick them up. For a start off, don't go and pick them up out of the dinghies. If anything, even let them try and get over all the way. That would be a start, And secondly, you could just stop them. When they enter your waters, just send them back. Stop them from entering your waters. The Greeks have done that, and the Australians did that with the boat people. Where were they from? The Philippines or Indonesia, somewhere like that. They stopped them. They just turned them away. They diverted them to an island, and then, they had the option then to go back to where they came from. And why can't the British defend the borders? That's what a coast guard is there for, to guard the coast. Coast guard coast. That's what it's for. To guard the borders, or what it was for. And the RNLI is not to pick up immigrants. So this is what they're focusing on, and all the net zero stuff. That's more World Economic Forum stuff, and the electric cars. I think they brought that forward now, or made it so it's not now. I might be wrong on this. I thought I saw somewhere that they're going to make it completely 2030 now instead of 2035. I know it's 2035 in the EU, but it won't happen here in Bulgaria. I'll guarantee you that. Yeah, there's 5 countries who's against it. I think it's Italy, Romania, Slovakia, uh, and I think even maybe it's Austria. I don't know, and Bulgaria. No prizes for guessing that these are against it, you know. And the reason that they've said is the people can't afford it. They can't afford the electric vehicles, and they won't be able to afford to insure them for definite, you know. Plus all the other negatives that the electric vehicles have, like depreciation, and I think they're virtually uninsurable now in the UK. So, but they've doubled down on it. This government, they're not giving leeway to the population to kind of alleviate the cost of living crisis, whatever they call it. And so there's nothing like Farage said. I think I saw something yesterday. He said the manifestos are probably exactly the same as the government that's just left, and possibly a little bit worse. That's what I would say. Having looked at it, and having seen that they're going to just carry on and double down. So I would still stand by the notion. My idea would be to get out of the UK if you possibly can, if it's at all possible, remotely possible, is get out. And unless you're in a, financially stable, secure position, and you've got no money worries or anything like that. But if you've got like an outstanding mortgage and you've still got some good equity in the property, I'd be looking at selling up there, and I would get out, because it's not going to get any better. I don't think. Not for people in them certain positions who are struggling now. You're going to be struggling for a long, long time. If you're struggling now, you're going to continue struggling. There's nothing that they've said or indicated that's going to stop you struggling. It's probably going to get worse, and the food thing is looming. And the one place where I wouldn't want to be in a food crisis is the UK, because there's a lot of mouths to feed there. You know, there's 7 million people here. In Bulgaria, there's 70 there, or whatever, however many there is. Close to 70, I think, in the UK. So that's that would be a bit scary if there is any food shortages, and it's on the cards. It's kind of happening already, but it hasn't happened yet. If you know what I mean. If you look it up about the food shortage, what they're doing with all the farmers, and what they're blaming the weather on, and all the rest of it, you know. And it's happening. It's happening now. I'm just hedging my bets that it's going to be. I think we're all right here. I think Bulgaria's number one in self-sufficiency, food security in Europe. I think France is quite good as well. But I think the UK imports about half of the food, so half the people may starve to death. Because a lot of countries will stop exporting things, especially like grains and stuff that you can store, and soybeans and stuff like that. I think there's another one. Palm oil is in short supply. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that people are on now storage capacity on some goods and foods. So that's all to come, I think. But the Labour, they're not talking about anything like that. Fixing potholes or bringing things down, stopping standing charges. Why not cap rents? You could have an assessor goes round the private rental properties, assesses it, and caps the rent for 2 years, and then fixes fixes the length of contract. Things like that. That's practical. Not just bringing in all this stuff that you don't have to pay your rent. So they said they're going to build all these millions of homes. So I'm guessing the people who don't want to pay rent, they'll all go there as well. It won't be low-cost housing because they've said they don't have to pay now. They won't be evicted. So you just go and move into one of them and you'll be all right into the new millions of homes that they're building, which I think a lot of them are earmarked for the other people who live in hotels now at the moment. Free up the hotels. Cheers.